Hello, this presentation is WisDOT Civil 3D 2020, What's New? My name is Eric Gates, and I work for EnvisionCAD. I'm also a consultant for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and I work with the Methods Development team. This presentation will cover the following items. What's new from Autodesk in Civil 3D 2020? We'll cover the WisDOT Civil 3D interface. We'll look at new tools and functionality, added and retired functions to the WisDOT configuration. We'll review installation and update guidelines and help and support at your fingertips. One takeaway from this presentation is that most everything that I will be discussing and showing today has all been encapsulated in the WisDOT Civil 3D knowledge base. I have provided links in the PDF handouts of this presentation. So what is new from Autodesk in Civil 3D 2020? The big highlight is that the Civil 3D 2020 DWG format is the same as Civil 3D 2018. This means the drawing files are backwards compatible, as a drawing saved in Civil 3D 2020 can be opened and read in the 2018 version. This also includes X references and data references. There is no migration required for Civil 3D projects that are currently in the 2018 version. It is merely switching Civil 3D versions. Simply let everyone know that is working on the project that the 2020 version is now going to be used, and then start opening drawings in Civil 3D 2020. This also means that X references and data shortcut drawings can be left alone in 2018 and do not need to be opened in Civil 3D 2020 or saved in Civil 3D 2020 to be read. This also goes the other way as well, if an X reference or data shortcut is saved in 2020, and if there is a need to, the drawing can be read in Civil 3D 2018. One caveat to this is that some new and updated civil objects that exist in Civil 3D 2020 will be displayed as proxy objects when opened in 2018. So though you'll be able to see the objects and query them, civil objects that have new version functionalities in them will be presented as proxy objects. As of now, most civil objects like surfaces, alignments, and corridors are all backward edit compatible. Another important thing to know is reference templates are not recognized in Civil 3D 2018. If a drawing is initially saved in 2020 with reference templates and is then saved in 2018, when opened in 2018, all references will be static, meaning all the styles will be static. When the drawing is opened in Civil 3D 2020, the template references and hierarchies are restored. That gets us to the part that is not backward compatible. The survey database in Civil 3D 2020 has changed and is not backward compatible. So WisDOT staff should consult with your survey coordinator before making a project in 2020. They'll be able to help you obtain databases and files you will need. Consultants can use the survey database migration utility provided by Autodesk. This basically saves the old database to the new database format. For more detailed Autodesk information on Civil 3D comparison between 2018 and 2020, you can refer to the WisDOT knowledge base. Now we come to the WisDOT Civil 3D interface. Let's take a look. The WisDOT workspace is comprised of two ribbon tabs, WisDOT Design and WisDOT Sheets. Most of the ribbon layout in 2020 is the same as the ribbons in 2018. Here we'll open up Civil 3D 2020 from the desktop icon. And as you can see, it looks very similar to 2018. We have the WisDOT Design ribbon tab and the WisDOT Sheets ribbon tab. Looks very similar. A new Tools panel has been added to the WisDOT ribbons. It can be found on both the Design and the Sheets tab. It contains the Dynamo player and will be the future home to access custom WisDOT tools that may not be in the Dynamo player. The ribbons have a few minor changes. The support panel has been condensed into all small icons with the knowledge base links added to the pull-down. Another minor change is the Quantity tool and the Design Utility pull-down panel have been moved into their own quantities group on the panel. An O2 Sheets layout palette has been added. All sheet layouts previously on other O2 palettes have been consolidated and grouped onto this one palette, and duplications on other palettes have been removed. So you'll see this new Sheets layout access button as the top button in the O2 section. Now let's go on to new tools and functionality. The WisDOT Start templates are created using reference templates. So what does that mean for the user? It means the WisDOT reference templates are already preset and shouldn't require changes or edits from the user. Yes, at this point in the evolution of Autodesk fixing bugs, the top ref-layer-line-marker text template that you see here should be unloaded and the status out of date. This template will be removed in the next update. What changes with using reference templates? Well, in the tool space settings, you will notice the reference symbol on each style in the template. This denotes that these styles are being referenced from another template. Reference styles cannot be edited, only copied. This maintains the integrity of the style and forces changes to be saved in a new copy. Refer to the link on the WisDOT knowledge base for further information and any additions or changes that may be developed as Autodesk is working on some bugs and edits to reference templates. These may show up in the next update. When you look at the workspace, you'll notice that the look and feel and functions are basically the same between WisDOT Civil 3D 2020 and Civil 3D 2018 Customized User Interface. One change, though, in 2020 version is where to find the report tools and how to use them. That brings us to Dynamo. Dynamo, in simple terms, is a scripting application. These scripts can be accessed using the Dynamo player. Many of WisDOT tools and report scripts are now being built for Dynamo Player, with most of the existing reports and many of the existing macros slated for conversion to Dynamo, as well as new productivity tools and reports being considered or developed. Dynamo Player is used to access and run the tool and report scripts. The Dynamo Player can be found on the left side of the WisDOT Design and WisDOT Sheets ribbon in the Tools panel, as shown earlier. The Dynamo Player can be run from the Tools panel on the WisDOT Design or on the WisDOT Sheets ribbon. Simply click the Dynamo Player and the player comes up. The filter section is this first line with the magnifying glass. The Dynamo scripts are divided into three groups by their naming convention. There's the action, create, and report. The Dynamo player filters can be used to navigate and manage the player list. Simply type in any words that you want to use as filters on the top. To get more information about any of the scripts, press the button to the left of the Run to Open Dynamo script on the very top. This will open the WisDOT Civil 3D Dynamo Scripts Civil 3D Knowledge Base page. Like I mentioned, WisDOT is working on replacing most of the toolbox macros and reports with Dynamo scripts. The methods development team is always open for feedback on any of these tools. If there were functions that these reports provided that people need that were not put into the Dynamo scripts, then just let the team know. If a need is identified, Dynamo will be used. Now in the toolbox, you will see when executing some of the macros that they will actually open up the Civil 3D Knowledge Base page about the Dynamo script and open the Dynamo player. These are tools that have already been moved over as Dynamo scripts. Property sets. Property sets are not widely used at this point and are not included in the WisDOT startup templates. To accommodate any further expansion, though, of property sets, a reference template has been created. It can be found in the seed location WisDOT standard Civil 3D 2020 location. To import the property sets, attach the ref property sets DWT to the drawing. Now let's take a look at what that looks like in Civil 3D. Go to the Manage tab, select the Reference tool, attach reference templates, browse the default template folder, and select the Ref Property Sets DWT. Press Open. Next, you want to move that to the bottom of the list by selecting the down arrow, and then press OK. This brings the template into the current drawing. At this point, you can select the surface, right-click, go to Properties, go to the Extended Data tab, select on the Add Property Sets button on the bottom left, add the property sets you like, press OK, and the dialog box populates with the surface statistics. Currently, WisDOT only has one property set. It's called Surface Statistics. WisDOT provides a few action macros for the Setup Action Recorder. A user path is provided for users to create their own action macros. If you're not familiar with the Action Recorder, we'll take a brief look at it in Civil 3D. It's on the Civil 3D Manage tab. And if you go into the pull down, you can see some of the macros that WisDOT has provided. You simply select one of those and press the play button. You can set your preferences, and you can manage your own action macros. By clicking on the Manage Action Macros button, you can go to Options and Actions Recording File Location and see that WisDOT has provided a folder for you in the WisDOT STND Users My Civil 3D 2020 Actions Recordings. You can also see that in the Explorer. For more information, go to Autodesk Knowledge to see how to record your own macros. Now let's cover some of the added functions to the WisDOT configuration. The unit status bar off-on refresh. This turns the visibility of the unit info bar on and off. Also, to refresh the contents of the info bar when switching drawings, simply toggle the bar off then back on. The unit's info bar can be found on the bottom below the drawing area. It shows the OSNAP-Z settings and the drawing's insertion units, drawing units, and conversion units. Toggle OSNAP-Z. This controls whether object snaps recognize the Z value or are projected onto a plane of the current UCS at the current elevation, which is often 0. This tool toggles the value of the OSNAP-Z drawing variable. Beyond the reports and tools conversions, much of the WisDOT efforts for 2020 have been in fine-tuning the standards for updating objects, styles, blocks, and palettes to efficiently assist in the design and production workflows. Many of these ideas, suggestions, and requests came from users like you. So to get involved in reporting issues and submitting ideas, you can sign up on the WisDOT Public Access Trello boards. Great way to get involved and help make the WisDOT configuration work for you. To access both the Civil 3D knowledge base and the WisDOT Civil 3D features, where the Civil 3D features Trello boards are located, this can be done directly from Civil 3D. We are going to go to the Support panel, and on the pull down, we can go to the WisDOT Civil 3D Futures button. Simply press that, and you are taken to the WisDOT Civil 3D Futures board. Now we'll cover retired functions. For consultants, the Enable Disable switch that was located in the WisDOT Civil 3D apps has been retired. This tool used to manually turn off and on the WisDOT custom loading process. The new startup process is automated for 2018 and 2020. For this process to work, the user will need to allow the startup WisDOT files to run at every startup, even when starting Civil 3D in a non-WisDOT configuration. The startup files check to see what setting profiles is used to start Civil 3D. If it is not a WisDOT profile, it unloads all the WisDOT custom configurations. Conversely, if it is a WisDOT profile, which means the WisDOT desktop icon was used, it then loads all the WisDOT custom configurations. Check out the Civil 3D knowledge base for further information. Other custom tools retired are the alignment bearing tip and the stakeout report. Again, it is worth mentioning that if there are functions that these or other tools did that you still need, please bring that to the attention of the WisDOT Methods development team through the Issues Trello board or sending an email to support.cae@dot.wi.gov. The refresh profile has been removed, and now all of the things that the refresh profile used to do have been incorporated into the reset import WisDOT profile. Custom tools retired because of Autodesk tools. This is the Reset X-Reference layers. You can now use the right-click option in a Layer Property Manager. Simply right-click, go to Layer Properties, Xref Filter, and then right-click on the Xref name. Custom tools replaced. The Update Unit Info bar has been renamed to the Units Status bar, Off, On, and Refresh. Now we'll review the installation and update guidelines. There are separate WisDOT standard installation processes between the WisDOT staff and consultants. The WisDOT staff can follow the instructions on the Civil 3D knowledge base in the File/Software Management section titled Civil 3D Install and Initialize Process, WisDOT Only. The first subsection, Installing the Civil 3D Application, has information about how to do a full Civil 3D 2020 self-install using the Software Center. The last subsection, Initialize and Configure Civil 3D, should be read and understood by all WisDOT Civil 3D users. This covers how to run the desktop install app and how to initialize the configuration. Then there's a subsection about the consultant installation process. Go to the Update WisDOT Civil 3D Desktop Application subsection in the File/Software Management section of the WisDOT knowledge base. You will want to read this entire section prior to doing any actions, as there may be different options and processes to follow depending on your firm's setup and the versions you are running. For consultants, if you have not already done so, the WisDOT Civil 3D 2020 customization and updating process requires the Update WisDOT Civil 3D version 2020.0.0.9.msi be installed first. Consultants using Civil 3D 2020 will need to install the 2020 Update WisDOT Civil 3D app in order to update not only 2020 but also 2018 and 2016. So if you have 2018 and 2016 and are going to or have installed 2020 and you want the WisDOT configuration, you will need to install the latest 2020 Update WisDOT desktop app. Things to know before you download or install the 2020 Update WisDOT desktop app. If you have already installed it, if you have Civil 3D 2020 installed and are running the latest Update WisDOT Civil 3D app, then you are set. When every update comes out, Just run the updater from the desktop icon to get the latest files for both 2020 and 2018. Consultants can use their existing WisDOT update installation if they are not going to install Civil 3D 2020. Before installing the 2020 Update WisDOT MSI, all other previous WisDOT tools must be uninstalled. So where do you find the latest version? The latest version is on the WisDOT Consultant Resource File page. The link provided here and on the Civil 3D knowledge base will take you to the DOT Consultant Civil 3D file download page. After the installation, the Update WisDOT Civil 3D desktop icon can be used to download and update WisDOT standards to the latest versions. Here's a brief demonstration of running the updater from the desktop. Here we can see initial install ready for download for both 2020 and 2018. Next, you just check the version that you want to update. In this case, we're going to hit the download and install option, and then we press deploy. After waiting a few minutes, or a little longer than a few minutes, depending on your connection, the update should be finished. When WisDOT launches an update, you can go to the Civil 3D version info section of the Civil 3D knowledge base to find out what is included in the update package. This gives you the ability to look exactly what is in the package even before you download it. Go to the WisDOT Civil 3D 2020 What's New subsection and take a look. This will give you a full list with brief descriptions of the updates that were made and what files it affects. Now we come to the Reset tool. What is the Reset tool and when should you run it? The Reset Import WisDOT Profile tool can be found on the support panel of either the WisDOT Design or the WisDOT Sheets ribbon. When should the Reset tool be used? This Reset tool should be run after a WisDOT update to ensure changes to the user interface have been implemented. It really does deserve repeating. The Reset tool should be run after every WisDOT update to ensure changes to the user interface have been implemented. So this tool maybe should be called the Finish the Update Process button, though it can also be used at any time to set the WisDOT workspace back to its standard configuration if things ever get wonky. To help the user, WisDOT has also provided a Restore User Settings tool. This tool can be run after the reset process to ensure that most of the user's modifications to the workspace are restored. Using the link provided, a full list of the settings that are converted by running the reset and a list of user settings that are restored by running the Restore User Settings tool can be found on the Civil 3D knowledge base. Another item is the Places list in the Browse dialogs now maintains user additions after running a reset. This is done automatically as part of the reset process and requires no user interaction. In this short demonstration, we'll take a look at how the Places list automatically gets saved and how the Restore User Settings works. Here we have the Places list saved, and now we'll go run the reset. Once Civil 3D comes back up, we'll take a look at the Places list, and you'll notice that it's automatically anything that you have saved, it has restored. Next, we will run the Restore User Settings tool to get to the workspace how we had it before. Notice our settings for the workspace has been restored. The only thing we have to do is, if we want it back to light or dark, we have a tool here to turn it back to light or dark. It's a toggle, and you can toggle it back and forth. Now let's look at help and support at your fingertips. While in Civil 3D, remember that you can press F1 for more help. Simply hover over any WisDOT tool on the ribbon, press F1, and you'll get escorted to the Civil 3D Knowledge Base page for that tool. Let's see what that looks like. Here we can hover over a tool. Notice it says press F1 for more help. I'll press F1 and we'll be directed to the Civil 3D Knowledge page for that tool. Select another tool, hover over it, press F1. If we close it and then go back into a tool, it brings us back up. Now I want to take a little bit of time to review the WisDOT ribbon and palette tools. If you are new to using the WisDOT configuration or have been stuck working in WisDOT Civil 3D 2016, or you just haven't bothered with learning or investigating how the WisDOT configuration is laid out, what is in it, and how it works, here's your opportunity to get a quick view. So I'm just going to cover the different panels and tools and the configurations of the WisDOT Design tab ribbon and the WisDOT Sheets ribbon. And we'll basically go from left to right. You'll notice that the first three panels, Support Panel, Tools Panel, and Manage Panel, are the first ones on the Design tab, and also they're replicated on the Sheets tab. So we'll go back to Design tab. We've gone over the Support panel and the pull down for that. Showing you the new Tools panel with the Dynamo player, and there'll be tools on the pull down for any other tools that don't specifically fit into one of the other panel groupings. And next we have the Manage panel. This has the Drawing Clean tool. It has a Layers tools with pull downs for layer display order and for convert layer colors. Next we have Load Xref on Layer. This will load your Xreference on a specified layer. In the Manage pull down, we have the unit's status bar off on refresh that we've gone over earlier. We have the Import Description Keys tool and the Assign Coordinate Systems Multiple Drawings tool. Next is the Navigation panel. This panel is basically about navigating within the drawing area. So we have a Rotate View tool and a Plan View tool that basically takes you out of the rotation. Next, in the Navigation pull down, we have Export View tool, an Import View tool. We have a Delete Views tool as well. The Design utility is the next panel, and here we have the Super Elevation Design tool. This basically sets the rundown and normal crown cross slope to be the normal shoulder. We have the Design Surface Data Extractor tool, and here we have the quantities grouping. If you select that, we have the total length of alignment, area of closed polylines, and total length of objects tools. Within the pull down, we have the Station, Offset, Elevation, and Import. So WisDOT has tried to group these in order of how you would do workflows and work. And next we have the Pipe Networks panel. And then this one is the Swaps Parts List style, the Swap Pipe Network part, the Pipe Network Sump Adjust tool, and in the pull down we have the Add WisDOT Parts List. So if you are in a drawing that was not created by WisDOT or was not started with the WisDOT start template, or for any of the reasons why you would not have the parts list, you can actually add a parts list to a drawing. And backing up, that's the exact same thing that you can do with the import description keys. If you have a drawing that does not have the description keys, you can use the import description keys tool. Next on the panels, we have the WisDOT Assemblies and Subassemblies panel. This is where you can select the WisDOT subassemblies, and by doing so, you get the palette. We have a label subassemblies, which just allows us to label any and all subassembly that are in our drawing. And if you know anything about and or have worked with WisDOT's corridors and or have looked at their workflows, slope width control editor is a big part of the corridor transition and slope control process. And here's the tool for that. Here we have the Autodesk palettes. This allows you to straight access to the Autodesk subassemblies and their palettes straight off of the WisDOT ribbon. Selecting that, the default location that it will go to will be the generic tab. This is because usually this is the first place that you want to grab other items that are not included in the WisDOT subassemblies palette. Parameter design panel is our next panel, and here all of these open up palettes. So if I click on the beam guard blocks button, I'm going to get the beam guard blocks palettes. Next, if I click on the intersection blocks button here, I'm going to get all of the intersection blocks. I can then use the palettes to bring those items into my drawing. And then finally, on both of the WisDOT Design and the WisDOT Sheets ribbons is the My Palette user palette. By selecting this, I then have a palette that I can add anything I want to, anything that I can add to a palette. This is open for me to add to my palette. Next, we'll go to the WisDOT Sheets ribbon. The first three panels we've gone over, they're the same on the WisDOT Design. The next panel is the Sheet Utilities panel. Here we have utilities and tools that we use to put things into drawings, like super elevation tables, point station offset to UDP tool, and a stationed increment labels tool. You can find out more about these tools by using the F1 key. Within the Sheets Utilities, the pull down, we have Number Section View Group tool, the Rotate M-Leader, M-Text, and Blocks to Viewport tool, and the Block Index tool. Next, we have the Sheets Creation panel. This is one of the main panels that you'll be using when you do sheet production. This is the bread and butter for the sheet productions portion of WisDOT workflows. And what we have basically is we have lists of sheet groupings, and within those sheet groupings we can select those if we want title, and then what we have is we have a palette for all the items, including the start template and the sheet layouts and the layers and the textiles and the multi-leaders and the title sheet blocks and any other items that we would need to create our title blocks. These palettes are basically set up in a top to bottom order for the most part. Next, if you go from title and click General Notes, you'll go to the General Notes palette or tab, and these are all built the same way. You'll notice the consistency in how they're built and what is in them. From there, we can go to the O2 section. We have the new sheets layout. This palette has all of the sheet layouts that we would need for any of the O2 production sheets. And if you draw down there, you can go to the construction details. Again, construction details built the same way. Obviously, there's more tabs here. We have a lot more categories of blocks. All of those can be found by clicking on the Construction Details button in the Sheets Creation. And that goes the same for the typical section, details, drainage utilities, signing and marking, lighting, and signals, and traffic control. All of these you will find the workflow over on the palette. Next we go to the O3 quantities, and right away, plan and profile, cross sections, earthwork, topo, and signs. In the sheet creation pull down, we find a tool called Site Distance Tool. Next we have the Standards Components panel. This is where if you have any drawing where you are missing any of these components, block symbols, dimensions, layers, line types, multi-leaders, or textiles, and or you have purged them out of there because you want to keep your drawing smaller and or lighter, this is where you can bring those entities back in. The start templates that WisDOT provides a lean template, meaning that it only has the minimum in which it needs to have the styles and or the configurations that are required within the template. Most of the layers, dimensions, block symbols, line types are not in there. And the reason for that is because they are purgeable, and we have this tool, this all components and or individual components that you can bring in at any time to a drawing. So the Add All Components tool, you simply click on the Add All Components and it's going to bring in all of the components. If I type purge, I can now see all my blocks came in, dimension styles, multi-leaders, layers, line types, table styles, text styles. All of those have come into this drawing. I can add them at all, or I can add them one by one in the pull down. The components palette simply allows me to go to the palettes for these things. I have a block palette, and this is where I can get all of the different blocks. Many of these blocks are over in the sheets blocks for the specific drawings and specific sheets. I have a dimensions palette where I can pull these right off of the palette themselves if I wanted an individual and not bring in all of them at once. Next we go to the WisDOT Annotation panel. This is where we can import and use the WisDOT dimension styles and or multi-leader styles and bring them into our drawing that way instead of using the palettes. Here's where you access the annotation palette. This is where you get all of the different text styles, and if your drawing does not have a text style, you merely select the text style that you want. It starts an M text and then you specify and follow the M text prompts. All templates start on layer 0. While you're in Sheets and while you're on the text palette, you can use the tool called Set P Miscellaneous Text, and all that does is just sets the current layer to P Miscellaneous Text, instead of having to go over here into Layer Properties. It's a little shortcut for you. Under the WisDOT Annotation pull-downs, we have the Set WisDOT Text Style Size. Next, we have the Page Setup button, which is going to bring up all the different WisDOT page setups in the tool on the tool palette. For more information on how to use these, where do we go? The Civil 3D Knowledge Base. We have a plot configuration panel. On here we have layer states. We select the layer states and we have predefined layer states on the palette. If we select the unsaved layer states, we can go and manage layer states. And we have the multiple page setup tool. By selecting the multi-page setup tool, we can set the page setup for multiple layouts in our drawing. So we simply pick all the layouts that we want for any specific page setup. We pick a specific page setup, we pick the layouts we want to add that to, and then we just select apply. And notice the last thing is our friend, the My Palettes User Palettes panel. Thank you. I hope the presentation was informative. Remember, you can contact support.cae@dot.wi.gov. I will be sticking around if you have any questions. Thank you.